All right, well, we will go ahead and get started. People may still trickle in. We are going to go ahead and record this session. So if you have colleagues that are not able to make it or miss part of this, we can go ahead and share that recording with everyone. So again, welcome. For those of you who are new to Meridian, we'll be going over a little bit about the process and how we do our releases. For those of you who are not new, welcome back. And be glad to be chatting with you today. So Mike Larson, Director of Product Management. I'm here along with Nancy Dietz, who's Senior Manager of Training and Development. And we're going to go through, again, some of the mechanics and the functionality that's coming out here in our fall release. So without further ado, so the agenda today, we're going to go through, again, the release timeline and, again, the logistics around this upcoming release. And then we'll go through some of the major features, and they generally break down under enhancements around collaboration, registration, eCommerce, and a few things under reporting and some miscellaneous enhancements. I think this will go fairly quickly today, but want to make sure we reserve time for any questions that you all may have. So release timeline. So really this functionality is not going to hit your production instances if you're one of our cloud customers until December 2nd. But what we have, if you've seen the emails, we do a preview period that begins today. And so basically your stage environments, this release 22.2 is now live in your stage environments. In the community, we now have an overview guide, and we have a what's the new feature guide, and then a set of release notes. You can see all this information there. That's also where we'll go ahead and post links to this recording. So we're ready to get started today. Over the next couple of weeks, what will happen is we'll go in a little bit more depth on some of these features. So again, kind of getting the overview of what's there, giving you the documentation, and then we'll just kind of have these checkpoints each week for the next couple of weeks to dive deeper on some of this functionality and make sure that we reserve a significant amount of that time for any questions that you have as you go in and use any of these features. If you're not sure about how something's supposed to work, if you encounter any issues, we can talk about those things as part of those sessions. And then we'll likely be making some changes, some updates over the next couple of weeks as well. So we'll be pushing what your final version will be to your stage environments on November 29th, and then Friday the 2nd is when they will go out to production. So those are, again, kind of the mechanics of this. Any questions on that? I don't see any questions in the chat so far, but feel free to jump in and, again, ask any questions. We've got, again, Nancy that can field those or direct my attention to those. All right, so let's jump into what's in this release. Collaboration. So this is a replacement of sort of the feature that we had previously, collaboration spaces, and the purpose of this is letting your learners more effectively understand the context of some of your learning programs, so you can interact, see how does this relate to you and your organization, be able to dig deeper beyond the specifics of the content and talk with peers, talk with instructors as applicable. So really what it means is we've got forums and threaded discussions within those forums. We'll walk through this a little bit here today. These are all enabled by domain, so if you really don't think collaboration is appropriate, you can turn it off for an entire domain, and then the collaboration is actually enabled on individual content items as well. So you can discern that, hey, this is appropriate for this type of course or this course itself, but maybe not others, and you can leave it off. So you have to enroll. So particularly for classroom-based courses, anybody that's enrolled in the course is automatically enrolled in that collaboration area. People can share files and be notified when people comment on or reply to their comments. So we can go through a couple screens and give you a flavor for what's out there. So first off, it's integrated into the course. So this is a classroom course. So you see we have a new tab, and if enabled, that a learner can see here are the forums that are available. Administrators can, and moderators can create new forums for the particular course, and then learners can go in and see what's there. We can see how many threads and replies are in each forum, and what happened last. And drill into any one of these, I can see what are the threads that are going on in this forum, replies, what was the last activity for each. And then for any one of these, again, I can see more information. So for any of these threads and replies, we can like them. We can use HTML in here to put in links, quote text, do all sorts of things with, again, kind of a standard HTML editor. And then I can reply again to, to any of these threads, be notified when somebody replies to my thread or my reply, so I can keep in the loop on those kinds of things. Let's see, so just a couple quick questions here. Yes, so there is, so there is a Q&A area here in the Zoom meeting where you can ask questions. So just call your attention to that. It looks like the chat is maybe not enabled, but yeah, you can use the Q&A area. So a couple quick questions here. Collaboration is actually on the, for classroom courses, it's on a section level, not the course level. This can also be enabled for curriculums and general courses at this time. So that would be, again, enabled for the entire general course or the entire curriculum. But yeah, it can be at the section level. So a cohort that's going through the December section would all be going into the same space. Yeah. All right, let's see. I think we had a couple other things on collaboration. So we can also moderate. So and flag replies. So in this case, hey, maybe this wasn't intended to be super mean, but Jordan's saying, hey, everybody in sales should have to take this effective meetings thing. And it will also maybe somebody flag that. And then an administrator, moderator can come in and say, hey, do I want to remove that? Is that okay? Do I want to keep it? And there's really a couple of different flavors of moderation. So it can be just like this, where we allow for, people can post what they want, and then it could always be flagged potentially if there's something problematic, or if you want something more rigorous, you can have essentially every post and reply kind of goes into a waiting area for the moderator to approve that before it's ever seen by anybody. So a couple of different options there.
And since collaboration is enabled on courses, okay, at that section level, if that is shared down to different subdomains, will the learners be able to communicate or see across subdomains?
Let me see. So anybody enrolled in the course would be able to see collaboration for anybody else, is my understanding. I will double check that, but I'm pretty sure that is so you can turn that collaboration off at the domain level, but if it's enabled for all domains, I believe everybody that is enrolled in that course could see questions from other folks. That's a great question. I will double check the veracity of my answer. And then kind of the last bit here is sort of a little dashboard showing, from an administrative perspective, who's in the collaboration area, how many threads people have posted, replies. I could make somebody a moderator. I can make them inactive in the collaboration area only. If they want to be inactivated, or feel that, hey, this person is maybe shouldn't be posting, maybe they've had too many flagged replies, you could just make them inactive and they can no longer participate. So that is collaboration here. Another question. So, and yes, facilitators can participate in the threads. They can create posts, they can reply to posts. Yes. And then where that is turned on for the section, so there's actually the collaboration area, the settings tab, is where you would actually turn it on at a space. So there is a new tab that's going to be there when it's turned on for the domain, but you would actually need to go into the settings for collaboration and say, hey, I want collab on for this course. And again, we'll definitely get into more details on that next week. But these are great questions so far. Let's see, another question. So that, yes, this does go beyond classroom training. It's also available for general courses and curriculums at this time. Another good question. Can this be used to allow learners to post videos? Or allow only HTML or text? So actually, and I meant to highlight that, you can attach files as part of any post or response. So that could include a video, photograph, things like that. All right. So next piece, self-registration. So we've done a few things. They're really independent settings to help with self-registration and getting people into the right place. So the three things here are organization-specific registration URL. So kind of taking the guesswork out of how do you get the person into the right organization when they're signing up for themselves. So you don't necessarily have to give them a list of all possible organizations, or you don't have to wait for them to register and then move them into the correct organization. We can get them a specific URL that would automatically put them into the correct organization. Kind of separately, but related, we can now restrict when somebody's trying to register into an organization. You can say that, hey, you can only register into this organization if you have a certain email domain. And then finally, we can verify that email is actually real by requiring essentially an activation after sign up. So three things that can work kind of together. Really, part of the purpose being, give one URL. And whether it's multiple different customers, different types of customers, vendors, employees, we're all going to the same place, but you want to get them in different going through the same essential portal, but you want to get them into different organizations depending upon who they are. So this will allow you to do that. So really, when we look at the organization settings, we'll see some new stuff here. So as I mentioned, sign up URL. So this is going to be specific for this organization. So if you give this out, when somebody goes to register, they basically can't change or specify the organization. They're going to automatically be added to the one that corresponds to this organization. And then we can also separately, and again, you can use one or both of these, restrict by one or more email domains. So everybody that's registering into that organization is going to have to have one of these email domains, and if not, they'll be, essentially barred entry. So, in this case, gone through, tried registering. This is locked down. I can only register into this organization because I came into via the specific URL for the organization, but I used an email address that was not part of the approved domain, so it's going to not allow me to register here. But if I do, assuming I do go ahead and register and use a correct, use my work email address essentially, right, and I get myself registered. Well, the last piece is making sure that work email address that you specified is real, right? And it's just not that I've sort of sniffed out what the correct domain is supposed to be. We can verify that. We do have a domain level setting for email verification. It works independently from self-registration. We turn that on. Then on successful registration, learners will get an email. This can be edited in the system text editor to be, whatever you'd like it to be. The bottom line is you'll wind up with a link. So after the learner successfully creates an account, they'll get a notice that you need to go ahead and verify. If they forget about it, come back in, try and log in, they'll say, hey, you need to verify. And they can even get that reset. via self-service. So right there, upon trying to log back in, it will prompt them, hey, do you want to resend the verification? And once verified, and they're all set and ready to go. Any questions on registration?
Mike, there's one just wants to make sure, is self-registration going to be defaulted set to no?
Yes, we did not change the default there. That will remain off by default.
And another question is, how does this work if you have a default domain established and learners are automatically added to the default domain?
Let's see. If it's in a multi-URL environment, so is this about the verification or the, I'm just trying to think about, because a number of different features here. Essentially, whichever domain you are logging into, the setting for verification, that's where that applies. So it could be that you have it on for one domain, off for another domain, and you're actually a member of multiple domains. If you're getting into those edge cases, what will be is whichever domain I'm logging into, it will see is verification on, and if so, is this person verified? And if not, it will check that and make them verify. I'm not sure if that answers the question. I think the other piece of that is, again, getting people automatically added to the default domain. I think that can still follow through organizations, right? So there are default organizations for a domain. If that's the way that you want to continue to allow people to, just get added to the default org for a given domain, that can just continue to work as is. You don't have to use any of these other settings to redirect people. So it's only if you've got a shared registration URL and you want to direct people into a specific organization. There isn't really another piece of logic that would get them there. You don't want everybody going to the default organization, but you want to be able to tell, company B versus company A to go to a different URL to get them into the right organization.
Okay, Mike, we have one more question in there, but it's not with the self-registration topic, so I'll hold that for now.
Okay. All right. Let us go to the next bit, which is e-commerce. A couple things here on e-commerce. Again, separate features, but they can work together for some scenarios. So first one being, so a couple of things around bundles, and then around rescheduling sections that have cost to make a little bit easier workflow. So the first one here, upselling. So essentially what this is about is, so if I am viewing a content item, it's got a cost, and it's also part of a bundle that has a cost. The system is going to go ahead and recognize that and recommend or offer up essentially the bundle as an option. And this is also a configuration on the domain level. So if you don't want this, you can leave that off. But if you opt into it, then again, the system will go ahead and say, hey, there's a bundle that has this course in it that may be better value for you. So we'll go ahead and suggest that. And so again, a learner can select that and add it to the cart instead of the individual course. So that's sort of one half of this. The other bit is the bundle can be more than just a collection of courses. It can actually be, and that's where this fixed quantity option comes in. You can say that, hey, I want this small business starter pack, which is maybe a tiered bundle. So it's going to have a fixed number of users, so I can save more by getting not only a quantity of courses, but I'm sort of purchasing for a number of users. So I'm going to buy this. This is quite a value for, instead of $100 for one person for one course, I'm getting however many courses are in the starter pack for 10 people. When I add it to the cart, I can't change that quantity because it's a tier. Maybe there's a silver or gold package that's similar, that's more money for more users. So it gives you more flexibility in terms of if you are selling content, bundling content, and wanting people to think about, hey, I want more than just, instead of just buying the course for today, I'm thinking about my team, I'm thinking about future needs, and then maybe making a bigger purchase. So again, in my cart, I can't change that number because that's defined as part of this. This is actually part of the access key settings. You can define whether it's fixed quantity or not. Again, it's an option. Don't have to use that. And then the last piece on e-commerce is, as I said, part of purchasing the classroom section. So if I purchase, so in this case, I bought the November section, and there's also one in December, and I can't make the November thing. And instead of canceling, getting a refund, having to buy it again, I want to be able to just reschedule and enroll myself in the next section. So I get this reschedule button. So it's it's subject to limitations. It's got to be within the cancellation deadline, and in order for me to when I click this, I have to be able to have permission to the section that I'm registering in and so forth. But so this will let me just go ahead and select and add myself to that section. Now this is again an option. It's off by default. Again, if you've got different prices for different sections, different rules for which you want to make available to different people, maybe this is not something you would turn on. But if you just want to make it a little bit easier, if you have a frequent churn and lots of people rescheduling, this may be a thing that would make reduce some administrative burdens. Let's see. So just I see a question on existing e-commerce. So the fixed quantity we just talked about, so that is off by default. So you would have to opt into that. All right. So the last major section here is on reporting. So we had a few things. So skipping over the training assignment dashboard here for a couple other things real quick. So training assignment reports now have the ability you can add in content-based custom fields. So we had user-based custom fields, we had content custom fields in progress reports, but not in the assignment reports. So those are now available. You can elect to add in. So if you've got custom fields around audience or whatever else you're using, you can include them in the out-of-the-box training assignment reports. And in our survey reports, you can now add in a new column for any comments that go with a question. So you can get a little bit more data, again, as part of the out-of-box reports with surveys. So on the training assignment dashboard, we made a few changes, all related to having assignments with no due date. So the first thing is, and really this dashboard has been due date based. So it is, all these views are based upon a due date, have been based upon a due date, filtering based upon a due date. So we now have the ability to opt into including assignments that do not have a due date. So it's a checkbox. This is off by default, but it's also something, if this is something you always want to see, we have the save as default action that will, again, save these settings. The next time you come in, it will include that. So going along with that, a few things. So since we don't have a due date on these assignments that we're showing, what do we have a relevant date? And so we have the assigned date that does go along with each of these training assignments. So we have this assigned on date that will now show in the table, regardless of whether you include assignments with no due date. It may be useful for other purposes. So that's included all the time. And then we have a date range for the assignment date. And when we relabeled, so this due date range filter, I think it previously said time frame. And just to be more specific, it was always filtering based upon due date. That wasn't necessarily clear. So we tried to make it a little bit more clear. So this is a due date filter and then an assignment date filter. You can use them both in conjunction to kind of fine tune your results. Let's see.
So we've got one absolutely wonderful. Love the dashboard can now include all assignments.
Good, good. I know this was a long time coming for some folks. I'm glad we could deliver that for you.
And somebody else was looking to find out real examples of clients using e-commerce. So Jennifer will reach out to your CSM and get you in touch with some individuals.
Great. All right. And let's see, so it looks like there's another comment that I think I'm going to get to in a second here. So let me get to a couple of anonymous enhancements here, or additional enhancements. So we did do some additional enhancements around HRIS and SSO, notably around SAML being able to, if you're doing that type of authentication, we can include more data as part of that, perhaps as an alternative to having to import that information via HRIS. You can just do it via the SAML integration. And then we have, a list of other enhancements. I'm not going to go through all of these, but they will be in the, again, the release notes and the new feature guide. I do think there was a question about the first one here. So essentially, we allow for site administrators now to go ahead and not have to log into the child domain in order to edit something that is owned by the child domain. So a site administrator kind of can trump some of those rules. We had added some restrictions last release, so we've loosened them a little bit for the site administrator. But again, a bunch of miscellaneous enhancements here, surveys, curriculums, things like that to help make these. And these are all available right now on your staging site. So you can start playing around with them right now and see them in action.
Correct.
Great clarification. Yeah, so only updating the stage sites for cloud or SaaS customers. All right, so just a quick reminder about timelines. So again, now that we've gone back through what's available, again, next week, we're going to go back into the collaboration stuff in detail. So again, the way we typically do this, and we'll do this overview, but then we'll actually get into the application itself, do a live demo on the collaboration and any reporting, and then any other questions we have on some of the miscellaneous enhancements. And then we'll set aside the following week to really focus in on the e-commerce and self-registration enhancements as well. So should you need any help, encounter any issues, again, next week, we're going to be able to set aside time for questions. But feel free to reach out prior to that into your CSM. You can create a Zendesk ticket if you actually have an issue. And if you do, we do ask that you note that it's happening in your stage environment as opposed to your production environment. That'll help us to triage that ticket a little bit better. Okay, so Nancy, do we have any other questions?
They have one that really doesn't address the topics per se, Mike, but it
Okay.
was, are we able to generate mass individual emails as reminders prior to a course date?
So if we're thinking about like an instructor-led course date, yeah, you could do that on a one-off by emailing the roster. So the instructor could go ahead and email a roster and let everybody know something's coming up. There isn't an additional event that you could add that would serve as a reminder there. But that is something we're thinking about. All right, any other questions? Again, if you do later, let us know. Again, we will record this, we will share this recording, check the community for release notes and the what's new documentation to give you more information on this. And we will circle back next week and go into more detail. All right, we will cut you all loose. Thank you very much for the questions, and we will see you next week.